Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today I'm actually doing a kind of reaction video. Shout out to MTR Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. I'm actually a fan of his channel and the content that he puts out there. He recently, just a moment ago, put out a video in regards to that Destiny subject continuing, where he kind of reacts to some of the things that the YouTube content creator known as Destiny was I guess kind of ranting a little bit in regards to, for you guys who don't really know, he's a pretty popular YouTube content creator who has views on poly relationships in both aspects for the man and the woman, and has a very kind of, open liberal stand, I guess, for lack of a better word. And essentially, um, so he had this kind of open marriage and it all fell to shambles, and everyone was telling him the opposite, that he shouldn't be that way, and he tried to argue very hard that that's okay. And long story short, it all kind of blew up in his face. Now, I just wanted to kind of like jump on the point of that, and then I'm going to expand into like a deeper point of all this, but how MTR was actually, and that's mediocre tutorial reviews for short, um, was pretty much just cataloging it, but in addition, started kind of giving some points because, as he said in one of his past videos, that he has much respect for Destiny, and I understand from a content creator's perspective and someone who he argues very well in his points, even though I think his arguments make no sense, but he does argue them very hard. I think a lot of people think they don't make any sense, um, and getting into a space where some people start feeling, um, you know almost like to say, okay, some of the little things that he did in his attempt in the rant that you see, he makes Destiny makes some attempts to kind of point out things that he didn't like, or set some ground rules or boundaries. And what I really want to comment on is the fact that, because when I was watching this, it kind of really just kind of struck me a little bit, about how whatever points that a person like that makes for boundaries, um, makes no sense. It has no point and it has no bearing, because when you go and try to make boundaries within the confines of this open relationship, that you want it to work for you, just the fact that it's open relationship in itself means that there are no true boundary lines. So there's no credit that can be given for every little step that you may have made along the way, as if, okay, like that makes sense, this and that. And I'm not knocking MTR at all, but I know he was just kind of cataloging what was going on. But in the video, sometimes he starts saying things like, well, good for him, whatever, pointing out certain things that he did that was quote unquote positive, like, trying to set boundary lines. Not that it even matters. And I also get that Destiny right now is a hot topic, especially when a lot of people who have the mindset that opposes what Destiny believed in, then it's a very ripe topic to be able to say, okay, like, look what happened, even if you're not trying to, you know, um, do it in a disrespectful way. But the grand scheme of things is this, excuse me, Destiny and people like that, it's almost, I would go as far to say that it's a mental defect in society. It's a mental defect in society. It's a form of mental deficiency in society. And I'm going to tell you why. Similar to the way that when it comes to a war, um, and if we are a location or a people that do not have to deal with the short end of the stick of war, then we start having certain liberties where we go and start, contemplating other things, like, okay, what am I gonna spend my money on today? Or what am I gonna do with this? What am I gonna do with that? And all this kind of like things of that sort. You know what I mean? Just frivolous things that just other countries, maybe at the short end of the stick of war, would be like, I don't have time to think about that. Whereas if you were in that location, you're like, I don't have time to contemplate on, well, what I'm gonna eat today. My house is gonna probably get blown up. And I say that to say, in a world where we were living like predators and prey, and like wild animals, we wouldn't be afforded the luxury of quote unquote thinking outside of the box and being, overly, open to random over the top ways of living and this and that. Like if we were, you know, cavemen or something like that, you know what I mean? And I don't want to go into a whole history battle detailing of what, what we came from or this and that, whatever the case is. But just as an example, if we were cavemen living on like, the savannah or something like that, you wouldn't have the option to say, okay, I want my mate to be able to have fun with everyone else, and I'm going to have fun with everyone else, and I'm going to see if I can make it work. You will become, as a individual, extinct. You will not make it. You will not survive. Your genes will not spread on. Um, and so when you look at that dynamic of people like Destiny who have the mindset to just start thinking about random things like I want to have fun and I want to sleep with a bunch of people, but I want my partner to be able to sleep with a bunch of people too, but I want them to also stay on point and do like follow within the rules that I set for them at X, Y, and Z. It's crazy because that is, like I said, how I feel, a form of mental discrepancies or inadequacy or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Because you're not thinking on a level of that there's a reason why we've evolved to be a certain way. And though we might be living in civilized times now where, relatively speaking, where you can afford to think outside of the box, it doesn't mean that it's correct and it doesn't mean that it's going to work. And then when the problems come and you wonder why, or like in Destiny's case, he's like, oh, she's such a bad person, or why this, why that. But that Destiny went against the whole red pill community. And I'm not going to say that I'm red pill because I'm not, but I am pro man. What's the difference? I feel and maybe red pill was supposed to mean just pro man, but at some point in time, I think he got lost into being this over the top, you know, um, radical kind of perspective. So I like to just say that I'm pro man. That doesn't mean that I am anti women at all because I'm not, but I'm just pro man and having the benefits that a man needs to have to thrive. Now, with that being said, um, it's an understanding that a certain way of being goes hand in hand with a certain result of life. I like to use the analogy of a hunter. A hunter, like say a wild animal like a lion or a tiger. Well, as much as we might say to ourselves, you know, why does that animal have to have the sharp claws? Or say if we say we like that. Say we like that they have the sharp claws. We like that they have the sharp teeth. Well, guess what? What comes along with that is being a fierce hunter who never backs down, who's always going to go after its prey, who's going to be vicious. You can't get qualities of like say a hunter without getting the hunter with it. And the same thing works for the dynamic of men and women in that social aspect of things. You can't say I want a poly relationship, but I want some things that go hand in hand with them obeying certain rules for me or whatever the case is. It doesn't work like that. You can't, the, the natural evolution of things, and there is a such thing as psychological evolution as well, that, you don't get a chameleon, the lizard. You don't get that type of chameleon that can switch colors on its skin without it being a lizard because it went through so many things to get to that place. We can't just say, well, I want a lion to be a chameleon. Every trait that a creature has evolved and the results that you expect to get from that evolution come hand in hand with that evolution. So I say that to say the idea of having a structured relationship where boundary lines are not crossed and whatnot come directly with a strong personality for a man to kind of assert, okay, these are the boundary lines I have, and a woman playing her role as well within the dynamic, and both of them uniting for the purpose of raising a family and whatnot. That is the purpose of why both the man and the woman have evolved a certain way. So that way it makes it better for the procreation and long term survivalness of your genes. What goes hand in hand with that is a certain structure of life that has evolved to make that as most, what's the word I'm looking for? for lack of a better word, most accurate or the most fruitful way to have that happen is through this evolution. So when you say I want to take out some aspects of that evolution, but I'm still expecting the same results, you cannot get that because the evolution was for those results to be at their pinpoint accuracy, for them to be that same maximum way they can be. Going back to my silly analogies, and I'm sorry, just like them. Um, look at T-Rex, Tyrannosaurus Rex, the ultimate killing machine. It's evolved that way. You can't say, well, I want to get rid of the banana like long, huge teeth and binocular vision and this super massive jaw that is the most strongest jaw in the world. I want to get rid of all those things, but I still want him to be the top predator. You cannot have that. Those things have to be there for him to be what he is. That's what he evolved to. So my point that I say that in is that when you have people like that, people like Destiny who promote this idea that I can be different, I can be different than evolution, and it's fine. You're saying that off the perspective that society has made life easier, that I don't now have to um be that evolution that nature has caused me to be to get these same results because society has made it where I can just get these results automatically. Society's cleaned things up. I don't have to be try to be the super alpha. I'm not saying people have to be super alpha, but you try your best to dominate your own space. And him saying, I don't need to be that. I don't need to dominate my own space because they're going to fall in line because society has made it a little easier for me. And though society has made it easier for you, understand that the evolutionary aspect that's hard grained within people still just doesn't go away, and it's there for a reason. And I would argue that it needs to be there because if we ever had a day where everything fell apart and it was, like we'll say a technological apocalypse where we lost all our technology and we all had to be on the streets and surviving like say on the Walking Dead show or something like that. Um, those natural hardwired instincts are going to come to the forefront. Who's the dominant one? You're not going to be able to walk around and say, hey, silly and the way Destiny is and anyone like that and just go, I want things to be like this way. I want them to be like that way. I'm not going to whatever. No, it's like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. You have to have the role that you play that's based on evolution to a large degree. I'm not saying you have to be in exactly one cookie cutter way, but you have to keep some of those fundamentals to hold on to the opposite sex that you're trying to attract. So, with that being said, it is a mental deficiency to think that it's okay to be that way because you would die off if you were in a society where you didn't have to be that way. I mean, where weren't in this kind of society where we have, everything's laxed and a lot easygoing. You had to be that way. Like you wouldn't make it if you had to be that survivalist state of mind. And I'm not talking about in terms of crafting bow and arrows and all this other stuff. I'm talking just on the mating process, just on the social process, of feeling like it's okay to like not set your boundary lines, not hold on to what's yours, like your family structure. Like everyone understands, and most men understand, that's hardwired to say what's mine is mine. I protect it in every way, not on a physical level, but on a social level, on that kind of social dynamic where other people are trying to invade your space. They're trying to take your woman, they're trying to take your kids, they're trying to take everything away from you. It's about you having your space where you're like, no, this is mine. And socially, I'm going to assert myself in a manner where, like I said, boundary lines, anyone who comes across, I let them know, hey, these are the lines. Don't come and disrespect this and that, because that is how you maintain your space, your life, your legacy. The moment that you have the mentality that you don't have to maintain that and protect that, you're living in a false reality. And like I said, that equates to a mental deficiency, because in the primal world, you would not be able to get away with that. So this is not even something that should be either rewarded or even looked upon as anything less than a mental deficiency. And that's my opinion. Some people are going to differ, but I definitely feel that that is the case. There's a reason why things are like that. So I just wanted to point that out as kind of a reaction to what I was seeing there. And like I said, nothing against MTR. More so just about right now. There's this everyone's kind of on the topic of what's going on with Destiny, and just kind of seeing that video just kind of made me realize and think to myself that like that is a mental deficiency. That is something wrong with you when you do that, and it's not just from a perspective of like, oh, because I don't think that way, I don't agree with that way. No, you would drown if society was in an apocalyptic level and you had those mentalities, and understand that it doesn't work. So when you see someone like Destiny's relationship fall apart and he's like wondering why, or he's going, oh man, this sucks. No, it doesn't suck. You didn't listen to everyone else who's saying this is why it's going to fall apart. And one thing I want to be clear is all the people in the red space, red pill space, anyone who's in the pro man space, anyone who is like that. The truth is, society, women, blue pill space, which is supposed to be the opposite of red pill space, meaning that you're less about pro man and that kind of space and men being dominant. Anyone who comes from that perspective might think to themselves that all men want to be red pill. They like that, or whatever the case is. I'm not going to say that that they don't want to be pro man, because being pro man is not a negative thing. You just simply want the best for men, just as you would want for anyone, but it's just shouting it out to give it recognition because of the fact that it's not being recognized. But red pill space, which sometimes might go over the top, it might seem a little fanatical. Understand where it's rooted from. It's rooted from the fact that you have a lot of people who are like, my life is not going the way I want it to, in terms of whether it's work, whether it's like their physicality and getting in the gym, whether it's, you know, um, their way with the social aspect, women, whatever the case is, and things not going their way. It's all these things that are not positive in their life. And so there's a strong push to say, I got to make them positive because I don't like the direction that they're going in. And so when people might think that everyone who's in that space or views content that's red pill content, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody agrees with everything that's being said there, but they understand the necessity of saying, I need to navigate this social maze and I need to put myself in a position where things go in my favor. And if that means I have to be a way that I normally don't like being, but it gets the job done. And I don't mean that in the sense of don't be who you are, but I just mean in the sense like if you understand the rules of the game, you have to change it. You can't be that lackadaisical. You might say, well, I just want to sit at home and I want to sit in my mom's basement. I want to play video games all day. I want to sit around and not do anything. I don't want to get a job, but I want to have good money and I want, attractive woman and I want this family life and I want friends and I want to network and all that other stuff. Well, guess what? You have to change who you are as a person and evolve so you can have those things. And part of the red pill space is understanding that a lot of these people may not necessarily agree with all the over the top aspects of it, but they follow the regime because it means they'll get the results they want. And then they can go and apologize or what's the word that I'm looking for? They can repent at church on Sunday about how bad they feel in regards to being overly red pill and oh my God, like I felt like I may have over dominated my space, but at least you have dominated your space and you are on top to actually speak about it rather than be at the bottom. So I just want to make note that that doesn't mean everyone's in, for that. And I say that because people like Destiny who will go and say, well, why do people have to be that way? They do that for the results that they want to avoid what happened to Destiny, not because necessarily they're all pro red space, red pill space, but they're more so just like I'm pro man. I want my life better. And this is the only way to do it, or at least the only way I see fit to do it. All the other ways may not make sense to them, especially when some people preach that part of that is someone like Destiny who has a bunch of money. And I think he's probably got a network for over $1 million. Well, your method is not going to work for everyone because not everyone's going to have $1 million. So what do people do then when they're on their front lines and they feel like life is not going their way? You can't just say, well, I could be this passive guy who lets everyone step on me, but I got $1 million. So it's cool. They're going to still come to me anyway. That still doesn't even mean they respect you or like you. It just means you're getting by off what you have. And that's not really necessarily the good answer either. With that being said, you guys, I know I dragged things out a little bit. So As always, you guys take care, be safe, comment, like, subscribe, and share. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.